Nail, but you won the giveaway from last week's video. Enjoy your trending list. Stay to the end because we're going to be giving away some Peach Momoko goodness. Another week, another list of the trending comics in the comic book marketplace at the table with my mimosa. Shout out to the holidays. At the table in my pajamas. Shout out to the parentals. And comic fam, hit the subscribe button, slap that like button. We're going to dive into the books that are causing a ruckus in the market at the end of the year. Buckle up and let's start it out at number 10. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, issue number 2. At the top of the list. I knew this comic book was going to make and break the trending 20 on Key Collectors, and for good reason. Issue 1 surprised everybody. It was under-ordered. Issue 2 is making the list this week with a out-the-gate price, selling in the aftermarket for $12 average sales and a high sale of $25. Now there's a Nico Walker variant that's not getting as much love, and it's only going for $4 average sales. Now many individuals were surprised when this landed because a lot of members haven't seen the hit Iranian horror film that debuted back in 2014. And when this 2-issue adaptation dropped in previews, a lot of people didn't order it. Or if they did, it was because of the sick cover. I'm holding issue number 1. Shout out to Behemoth Comics, because after reading this, I knew that I had to get issue number 2. And I think members who got their hands on this comic felt the same way, because when they opened it, aside from this glorious red cover, the pages are completely black. They're colored in white. It's all in negative space. And that's because the film was done in black and white. This is not just a homage to the film. This isn't even like a synopsis of the movie. This is an introduction to the character. There's not even a real narrative in these pages. The book is a work of art. Now at the list at number 9, we have Secret War issue number 2. $12 average sales and a $200 high for a CGC 9.8. This is a comic book that is very tough and high grade, notorious for getting cracks in the spine, and it's a little bit thicker of a cardstock, but that black cover makes those errors horrendous and obvious. Now this book is seeing a 600% increase in copies sold in just 7 days because the first appearance of Quake, Daisy Johnson, you'll know her from the protagonist from Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., essentially the first spin-off series in the MCU that actually debuted. They went 7 seasons. I mean, it was incredibly popular, and there's a huge fan base for Daisy Johnson. And we are hearing rumors this very week that Chloe Bennett may be reprising her role as Daisy Johnson in the MCU. There's also a black and white sketch variant of this issue only going for $25. I think there's room to spec there. And I also wanted to bring attention to how dope of a key book this is, because not only do you get an appearance of the character, that happens in panel, obvious, it's awesome. But at the very end of the book, there are multiple pages of just dialogue. It's text from a meeting, the first meeting that Daisy Johnson had with Nick Fury. And it's a back and forth post her robbing a store, like she's like lifting some CDs or something, and she gets caught. And you have Nick Fury and Daisy going back and forth. It is hilarious. But in a matter of a few pages, you get an entire origin story that is discussed between both of them, that was logged and then categorized and stored at S.H.I.E.L.D. in the final pages of this book. It's just a cool key moment. Now we're at the list at number 8, and we're taking a look at some Green Lantern keys, specifically Green Lantern issue number 25, going for $35 average sales and a high sale of $240 for a CGC 9.8. Now this has a list of first appearances. You may be surprised how many are in one single book, but this is a comic that is setting up for a future war that would then pave the path for one of the all-time best Green Lantern stories called Blackest Night. You may have heard of it. But in this issue, we have the first appearance of the Red Lanterns, the Orange Lantern Corps, the Blue Lantern Corps, the Indigo Corps. You also get the Black Lantern Corps. And you also see a really cool splash page, kind of a foreshadowing of this war that I was mentioning that is to come, featuring a bunch of first appearances of characters. Now, why is this book spiking? Because we're seeing a 433% increase in copies sold in 7 days. Is it because in this issue, there's the death of the Anti-Monitor? No, I don't think it has anything to do with that. What it has to do with is HBO Max and the slate of Green Lantern shows. It's going to be a 10-episode series is the rumor, and members are trying to collect any Green Lantern they can get their hands on, and so much of it is starting to price itself out that members are looking for modern keys such as this one. I remember when this news dropped back in October because we got two different key alerts about it. The first was about the 10 episodes that were slated for HBO Max, but the other alert was about the characters that were projected to make an appearance. And I'm talking about Jessica Cruz, Alan Scott, Sinestro, Kilowog, Guy Gardner, and there were more than that. So I think right now members are just trying to get their hands on any keys that may pop, even if we don't have any word of a particular character or even lantern type yet. It's the last ditch effort to get some books that may spike. Speaking of which, there is a 1 in 10 Gary Frank variant that I'm keeping an eye out on. It's going for $45 average sales, which is pretty comparable to the cover A, but this 1 in 10 variant saw a $300 sale at a CGC 9.8 pretty recently. And I think that ratio is going to matter way more as members start to spec more on these different types of lanterns. Now, before we get to number 7 on the list, because I am crossing my fingers that this next spec really plays out. I'm really hoping, but we'll get to that in a second because you got to download Key Collector Comics if you haven't. Like, if you don't utilize the code TOM101 and try out the best comic app in existence, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's going to help your comic hunt, and it's going to help you just get well versed in the comic game. Access to a wealth of knowledge, to spec advice, as well as news and updates, and the ability to catalog your key books, keep track of your collection, even the approximate value of your collection. Utilize the code, support the show, and let's chat about Alias number 1 at number 7. That's right, $75 average sales, a high sale of $200 for a CGC 9.8, a 280% increase in copies sold in just 7 days after rumors of Kirsten Ritter possibly reprising her role as Jessica Jones. This first appearance is seeing a spike for the first time in quite some time. I can't remember CGC 9.8s hitting $200 in months, and I think that this is a really good sign because fans want to see it. Fans want to see Daredevil. We were just chatting about Charlie Cox possibly reprising his role from Netflix in Spider-Man. Could Luke Cage be around the corner? Danny, where you at? I don't even care. Get the whole Defenders crew. I want to see them, but we don't know if this is happening. The 2-year hold on the Jessica Jones property ends early next year. Wishful thinking? I don't know. Comic fan, what do you think in the comment section below? I want to see our Defenders back at home and incorporated into the MCU. What about you? Now let's take a look at the list at number 6 with a Dark Horse key book. We have Aliens number 1, the first appearance of xenomorphs in a comic book adaptation, a 6-issue limited series that I think members across the board have all recently discovered how difficult it is to secure a high-grade copy because the book is dark and has so many opportunities for scuffs, and a lot of members didn't look at this as a serious key until this very year, and the prices reflect that. We're seeing $100 average sales for this comic book, and heck, you used to be able to get this book in like near mint condition for under $30 easy at like every dealer table at a convention. Now we're seeing 9.8s. We were reporting last month a high of like $1,700. Now, I just saw yesterday, this is near Christmas, a $2,500 sale for a CGC 9.8. That may be wishful thinking, that may be an outlier, but still, a $2,000 marker for this comic book is heights that this book has never seen, and it's all due to Marvel's acquisition of the Predator and Alien franchises. Now we're seeing a 500% increase in copies sold in 7 days, and this is something that has been trending upwards since the announcement months ago. But after the last week, we just saw a trailer drop teasing the upcoming comic book by Philip Kennedy Johnson. You know him from Marvel Zombies Resurrection, and Salvador Larroca. You know him from Doctor Doom, and this comic looks stunning. The art looks incredible, and members are hyped to see Xenomorphs and Predator incorporated with their Marvel characters and narratives. Now, the narrative sounds very intriguing. I'm getting a Last of Us vibe a little bit. We're going to be following a mercenary named Gabriel Cruz who has to protect a child from a new xenomorph, a new evolved version. Sounds dark, horrific, and it sounds exciting. And after hearing what Salvador Larroca had to say about how he went through the process of prepping for this project, I think we're in good hands. This is what Salvador had to say. I've devoured every Alien story I could in every medium available and spent a lot of hours in the back of a classroom sketching out ideas for what happened before, after, and in between the chapters we got to see. Now I have the opportunity to bring my favorite nightmare to life. Now, clearly the creators are taking this very seriously. It definitely puts me at ease. I was a little concerned initially when I saw that the transition from Dark Horse to Marvel was happening. Careful with these franchises, but I think that we're in for some amazing storytelling. I need some psychological horror. I'm pretty stoked. Halfway through the list at number 5, we have Strange Adventures 205. We have Deadman making the list with a $900 average sale, 200% increase in copies sold for this Silver Age comic. It's a pricey book, and that's a big percentage increase in just 7 days with no real rumors being discussed. No leaks. There's no information. I checked the key alerts search box. I recommend you do this from time to time. You can type in a keyword such as HBO, and it'll pull up all relevant alerts that have happened in the past so you can see an update on all of that subcategory of speculation, announcements, and news and rumors that's worth your attention. And I did that for this book and really haven't seen anything since the October announcement. And I'll remind you what that was. Back in 2019, we heard rumors of a Strange Adventures anthology series with superhero names attached to it, such as Deadman, Adam Strange, and Animal Man. Well, since then, the only thing we've heard rumors about was a JLA Dark series that was possibly attached to J.J. Abrams. That's 2 different potential series that Deadman could be in, giving reason to why members would buy this comic book pretty aggressively. But why now? Why all of a sudden? There's a definite fandom of the character. His appearances in JLA Unlimited was fantastic. He was in The Brave and the Bold. Heck, he even made some Easter egg appearances in Teen Titans Go. I'm a big fan of Deadman. However, without any news over this last week and seeing some pretty big sales, I have to think maybe members are just hoping for the best, or maybe they know something we don't. Maybe there's some signs of Deadman that may be coming, and I really hope that that's true. Now we're at the list at number 4 with some Star Wars Spec members are trying to secure post The Mandalorian Season 2 finale. We have Star Wars Jedi Academy Leviathan issue number 1 seeing $40 average sales and a high sale at $75 for a high-grade raw copy and a percentage of increase in copies sold of 700%. We see a handful of new Jedi. One in particular is Luke Skywalker's greatest student, Kip Duran. And we also see a narrative that takes place 8 years after the fall of the Galactic Empire. So this right here is something that falls within the timeline. This could work. We know that Grogu is in the hands of Luke Skywalker and he's going to get trained. Could he be trained at the Jedi Academy? Could we see characters like Kip get introduced? We could. However, we have seen existing characters be completely retconned, even combined to make original characters in now the theatrical release and what is Star Wars canon. So although it may work with the timeline, it may just be wishful thinking. I felt it worth mentioning this little comparison because I think something similar is happening to Heir to the Empire issue number 3, the first cover appearance of Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker's wife. Her first appearance is in issue 1, which is the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn as well, which is why that book has skyrocketed, pushing people to buy issue 3 for the Spec Room. What if we see Mara Jade, right? We saw Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian. Here's the thing, I don't really see that happening, right? We saw a CGI Luke Skywalker. How much are we actually going to see of Luke? Are we going to really see a whole narrative of a young Luke Skywalker at the Jedi Temple? Possibly. Could we see him training more individuals? Maybe we'll see Kip, but just because the timeline is right doesn't mean that the non-canon Dark Horse narratives are all going to happen. So spec carefully because there's so much potential. Now at the list at number 3, we have West Coast Avengers issue number 62, a dollar bin book, a very cheap book, now seeing $5 average sales. Doesn't seem like much, but it's because members weren't buying this up until this week, until the Loki trailer dropped, an 833% increase in copies sold in just 7 days. We see in the trailer 3 different figures, structures. Could this be Kang? Could this be the Living Tribunal? Well, the spec is pointing towards the Timekeepers, who make their first appearance in West Coast Avengers 62. This key book, shout out to Comics by the Cover for spotting their appearance here, marks the debut of these characters in charge of time and ones that are likely going to resolve the aspect of time travel after the Loki series is finished. Now, this right here could mean we are seeing ties to a larger villain, and I think that is where the true spec lies. I don't see very much happening with this issue. It's very affordable, it's very common, and I don't see these beings being ones that have major spec value. But they have not only gone up against Kang in the past, they have been ones to recruit Kang in their duties to manage time. Before we get to number 2, I want to remind the community of your way where you can support the show, but we get an excuse to send you comics every single month. And this month, we teamed up with Lucio Perillo to do a Cersei variant of Eternals issue number 1. This is a mystery mail call exclusive. If you want this comic book, you gotta sign up now. You only got 2 weeks left to reserve your box and join the community. Now let's take a look at number 2 on the list because we have Avengers 62 making it. Silver Age, not West Coast Avengers. That's just random that happened on this list. We have the first appearance of M'Baku making the list with $220 average sales and a high sale for a CGC 9.2 of $350. You know him from that incredible fight scene in Black Panther. We see a 933% increase in copies sold of this Silver Age comic book because of rumors that the mantle may get passed to this character. We've heard rumors that the mantle of Black Panther, the leader of Wakanda, was going to be passed to Shuri. But this past week, we are seeing article after article saying M'Baku has an opportunity to take on the role as the leader of Wakanda. And if this is true, that could mean that this book could be prime for speculation, which is why we're seeing such a staggering percent increase in copies sold. Comic fam, what do you think about all these rumors? I don't even know at this point. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. M'Baku has made the trending list twice in the last 30 days because of this speculation news. I gotta know your thoughts. Now we're talking about the number 1 trending book of the week. Hit the subscribe button, slap the like button. We still got a giveaway on deck. We're talking about Loki. We're talking about Owen Wilson, what character he's going to play. We have Fantastic Four, 353 making the list. We knew that Owen Wilson was going to play a big role in this show, but it wasn't until the captions labeled the name of the character, Mobius, that's right, we have the clone, the chairman of the Time Variance Authority being played by Owen Wilson, spiking his first appearance in comic books. We're seeing a 300% increase in copies sold after this news dropped and a $25 average sale. And what was a high of $100 for a CGC 9.8 was just met with the sale of a 9.6 this very week. Now, the chairman of the TVA doesn't make very many appearances in comic books. Frankly, his main appearance is when he's putting the Fantastic Four to trial for dealing with some time shenanigans that they were doing. You know, they caused a ruckus and you had to take him to court. Now, he's a disgruntled, overworked manager. And I think that's the kind of character we're going to get in Loki. And what's even cooler about this particular issue, shout out to Topher. He is the creator of Comics Barricade. We'll chat about that in a second. But he actually noticed that the direct copy, not the newsstand, but the direct copy actually puts the chairman in the UPC box. That makes this not just the interior first appearance, but the cover appearance on the direct market copy only. I think I'm actually, for the first time, telling the members to buy a direct copy over a newsstand for the first time on the mic. Hit the like button, comic fam. This is a big day. Now, issue number 352, you actually see the first appearance in cameo of the chairman, but because he's a clone, you don't get a name attached to him and you don't even know who you're looking at. There's a lot of versions of this character, which is why 353 is the spec of choice. And given that we have an A-list actor who's going to be playing him, I think that this dollar bin book is a great spec choice right now. Comic fam, I want to hear your thoughts about this list in the comment section below. It'll enter you to win a copy of Peach Momoko's Virgin exclusive of Wretches #1. Enjoy your weekend and have a happy holidays. And as always, geek responsibly. Enough said. Comic fam, I want to give a big shout out to Topher. This guy's awesome. He does a lot of great value for the community, but he also made one of my favorite comic book tools that I've used and incorporated into my collecting and business over the last year. It's called Comic Barricade, and it's essentially a plastic divider that hooks into your BCW long box perfectly, and it prevents comics from doing this. You ever have a comic do that? You take comics out of your long box, they fall over, they get damaged. Yeah, hit the link in the description and that'll never happen again. This isn't a sponsorship. I just endorse the product because it's brilliant. Shout out Topher. Have a great weekend.